Good day, little wormlings, and welcome to the Comfort Corner. Today we are going to be reading Winnie the Pooh, Chapter 2. Edward Bear, known to his friends as Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short, was walking through the forest one day, humming proudly to himself. He had made up a little hum that very morning, and as he was doing his stoutness exercises in front of the glass, tra-la-la, tra-la-la, as he stretched up high as he could go, and then tra-la-la, tra-la, oh, help, la, as he tried to reach his toes. After breakfast, he had said it over and over to himself until he had learnt it off by heart, and now he was humming it through right properly. It went a little something like this. Tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum, tiddle-um-tum, tiddly-idle, 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 rum-tum, tiddly-um. Well, he was walking and humming this hum to himself, and walking along gaily, wondering what everybody else was doing, and what it felt like being somebody else, when suddenly he came to a sandy bank, and in this bank there was a large hole. "Aha!" said Pooh. Rum-tum-tum. "If I know anything about anything, that hole means rabbit," he said. "And a rabbit means company," he said. "And a company means food and listening to me humming and such. Oh, rum-tum-tum, tiddly-um." So he bent down and he put his head into the hole and he called out, "Is anybody home?" There was a sudden shuffling noise from inside the hole, and then silence. "What I said was, 'Is anybody at home?'" called out Pooh very loudly. "No," said a voice, and then added, "You needn't shout so loud. I heard you quite well the first time." "Oh, bother," said Pooh. "Isn't there anyone here at all?" "Nobody." Winnie the Pooh took his head out of the hole, and he thought for a little while, and he thought again to himself, "There must be someone there, because somebody must have said nobody." And so he put his head back into the hole and said, "Hello, Rabbit, isn't that you?" "No," said Rabbit in a different sort of voice this time. "But isn't that Rabbit's voice?" "No, I don't think so," said Rabbit. "This isn't meant to be." "Oh," said Pooh. He took his head out of the hole and he had another think, and then he put it back and he said, "Well, could you very kindly tell me where Rabbit is?" "He's gone to see his friend Pooh Bear, who is such a great friend of his." "But this is me," said Pooh, very much surprised. "What sort of me?" "Pooh Bear." "Are you sure?" said Rabbit, still even more surprised than Pooh. Quite sure," said Pooh. "Oh, well, in that case, come in." So Pooh pushed and pushed and pushed his way through the hole, and at last he got all the way in. "You were quite right," said Rabbit, looking at him all over. "It is you. Glad to see you." "Who did you think it was?" "Well, I wasn't sure. You know how it is in the forest. One can't have anybody coming into one's house. One has to be careful." "What about a mouthful of something?" Pooh always liked a little something at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was very glad to see Rabbit getting out the plates and mugs, and when Rabbit said, "Honey or condensed milk with your bread?" he was so excited, he said, "Both." And then, so as not to seem greedy, he added, "But don't bother about the bread, please." For a long time after that he said nothing, until at last, humming to himself in a rather sticky voice, he got up, shook Rabbit lovingly by the paw, and he said to him that he must be going. "Must you?" Rabbit said politely. "Well," said Pooh, "I could stay a little longer if you... He tried to look very hard in the direction of the larder. "As a matter of fact," said Rabbit, "I was going out myself directly." "Oh, well then, I'll be going on then. Goodbye." "Well, goodbye, if you are sure you won't have any more." Is there any more? Pooh asked quickly. Rabbit took the covers off the dishes and said, No, there wasn't. I thought not, said Pooh, nodding to himself. Well, goodbye then. I must be going on. So he started to climb out of the hole. He pulled with his front paws and pushed with his back paws, and in a little while his nose popped out in the open again, and then his ears, and then his front paws, and then his shoulders, and... Oh, help, said Pooh. I'd better go back. Oh, bother, said Pooh. I shall have to go on. Oh, I can't do either, said Pooh. Oh, help, oh, bother. Now, by this time, Rabbit wanted to go for a walk too, and finding the front door full, he went out the back door, came around to Pooh and looked at him. Hello, are you stuck? He asked. No, said Pooh carelessly. Just resting and thinking and humming to myself. Here, give us a paw. Pooh Bear stretched out a paw, and Rabbit pulled and pulled and pulled. Ow, cried Pooh, you're hurting my paw. The fact is, Rabbit said, you're stuck. Oh, it all comes, Pooh said crossly. If not for having front doors big enough. It all comes of eating too much, Rabbit said sternly. I thought that at the time, only I didn't like to say such a thing. And Rabbit said that only one of us was eating too much, and I knew it wasn't me, he said. Well, I shall go after and fetch Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin lived at the other end of the forest, and when he came back with Rabbit, he saw the front half of Pooh, and he said, oh, silly old bear, in such a loving voice that everybody felt quite hopeful again. Why, I was just beginning to think, said Pooh, sniffing slightly, that Rabbit might never be able to use his front door again, and I should hate for that. So should I, said Rabbit. Use his front door again, said Christopher Robin. Of course he'll use his front door again. Good, said Rabbit. If we can't pull you out, Pooh, well, we might as well push you back. Rabbit scratched his whiskers thoughtfully and pointed out that once Pooh was pushed back, when he was back, and of course nobody was more glad to see than that he was, still there it was. Some lived in trees and some lived underground and... Oh, you mean I'd never get out, said Pooh. I mean, Rabbit said, that having got so far, it seems such a pity to waste it. Christopher Robin nodded. Then there was only one thing to be done, he said. We shall have to wait and see for you to get thin again. Well, how long does getting thin take? Asked Pooh anxiously. About a week, I should think. But I can't stay here for a week. Oh, you can stay here all night, silly old bear. It's getting you out which is so difficult. We'll even read to you, Rabbit said cheerfully. And I hope that it won't snow, he added. And I say, old fellow, you're taking up a good deal of room in my house. Do you mind if I use your back legs as a towel horse? Because, I mean, they are very much doing nothing, and it would be very convenient to just hang the towels on them. A week, Pooh said gloomily. What about meals? I'm afraid no meals, said Christopher Robin, because of getting thin quicker. But we will read to you. Oh, Pooh began to sigh, and then he found he couldn't because he was so tightly stuck, and a tear rolled down out of his eye, and he said, Then would you read me a sustaining book, as such would help the comfort of a wedged bear in a great tightness? So, for a week Christopher Robin read that sort of book at the north end of Pooh, and Rabbit hung his washing on the south end, and in between Pooh felt himself getting slender and slender. And now, at the end of the week, Christopher Robin said, Now! So he took hold of Pooh's front paws, and Rabbit took hold of Christopher Robin, and all of Rabbit's friends and relations took hold of Rabbit, and they all pulled together. And for a long time, Pooh only said, Ow! And then he said, Oh! Then, all of a sudden, there was a pop! just as if a cork were coming out of a bottle. Christopher Robin and Rabbit and all of Rabbit's friends and relations went head over heels backwards, and on top of them came Winnie the Pooh, free at last. So with a nod of thanks to all his friends, he went on with his walk through the forest, humming proudly to himself. But Christopher Robin looked after him so lovingly, and he just chuckled to himself. Silly old bear. End of Chapter 2. Thank you all so much for coming out to hear Chapter 2 of Winnie the Pooh. I hope you all enjoyed yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next time with Chapter 3. Have a wonderful rest of your day.